On today's Locked On Canadiens, the Habs did not embarrass us in front of Andrei Markov. They rebounded with a massive effort. Find out who we think were the keys to this win.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Canadiens. We want to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. As you know, we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube, as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And that's all thanks to you guys. My name is Laura Saba, also known as The Active Stick, and I'm joined, as always, by my wonderful co-host, Ian Boisvert, also known as Maybe It's Ian. Ian, what a relief from the previous night.
Yeah, I think, I won't say we. I'll take some accountability on this one. I used the word quit a lot in the last episode. And in a game where the Canadiens never led and they erased two separate deficits and they just never quit, it's very nice to see that they're able to put that effort back. At the top of my notes, I usually write something that I want to see during the game. I wrote 2 words, play guilty. And I think they did. I think they played very guilty. I think they finished their checks. I think they wanted to win that game really bad. And I think it showed in their effort. And, hooray for the extra point in the shootout, I guess.
Absolutely. There's a lot that we can say about that game, and we will get into it. In our second segment, we kind of want to talk about Andrei Markov's legacy, as this was the night the Canadiens honored him. And finally, we're going to talk a little bit about the special teams as of late. We've been talking a lot about the power play being back, the penalty kill being okay. So we're going to talk about what kind of a factor that plays into the Montreal Canadiens' future, I guess, near future in the coming games. Let's start with tonight's game. I thought the Canadiens played as if they weren't on the second night of a back-to-back. From an entertainment standpoint, this game was fantastic. It was really, both of these teams have their issues, but I think it was a really, and I don't know if I'd call it evenly matched, but I would say like there were a lot of things that happened in this game, and very few of them made me angry.
Yeah, it was, one thing happened constantly that did make us angry, and it's just going to be a footnote because we don't need to belabor it, and there's really nothing you could do about it, which is Mike Matheson's sticks all spontaneously combusted.
Yes.
I think
it happened twice. It actually happened 3 times.
It happened 3 times. The third one was on the one-timer in overtime, in which Mike Matheson was all of us. He took whatever was left of his stick in his hands, and he slammed it to the ice. He was so mad. Mike, as we're recording this, is probably on the phone with his equipment guy right now saying, we need a new batch. These ones are dookie. I can't play with these anymore. But other than that, I think, there were some lineup changes. Juraj Slafkovsky gets moved back up to the boy genius line, the top line. And, that line won't stand out too much in the expected goals sense. We're about 500 for the game. But I just thought that he brought the element that they were hoping Bolduc would bring to that line, which is get the puck in deep. He'll work down low. Nick Suzuki said himself, he's like, Bolduc doesn't play down low as much as Slafkovsky did, and that was something they had to adjust to. Well, now they don't have to adjust to it because Juraj Slafkovsky's back playing, and I don't say this hyperbolically, the best hockey of his career.
I want to know, is this first half Slav or full season Slav? I really hope
we're just on the full Slav. It's now just called the full Slav. That's it.
Okay. This is the full Slav. No, incredible. He's been phenomenal. Even in the game against Ottawa, where we found fault with almost everybody on the ice, Juraj Slafkovsky still looked amazing. This is, and what I really loved about it is that, putting him on the second line, he was a driver on that line. Putting him on the first line, it brought it back together, right? It had apparently without him, in the underlying numbers had been one of the worst lines of the league.
30-something% expected goals. Just can't happen. No. Going from one of the best lines in the league in that metric to very bad is a huge drop-off.
Yeah. The good news is on the second line, there's still Ivan Demidov, and he's still able to carry the play a lot. I felt so bad for Oliver Kapaned because I felt like he wasn't playing poorly, but the bounces were just really not going his way. And I just felt like if I were him, I would be so upset right now because it looked like an entirely just a bad luck game for him, right? I really don't think he played poorly. I felt like he was in the right place at the right time. The passes just missed him. The shots just went slightly wide. I feel like it was really not his fault. But Ivan Demidov, just like that line, I know we're back in that situation where, the Canadiens need a player to complement them. They need a player on that line. So
what did you think of Texier in that spot?
I really I liked him.
Yeah,
at the beginning of the game, I felt like, oh no. What I think I actually texted you, what is that line?
Yeah, it was weird. It's a weird thought.
Maybe there was a 4-letter word in there too in that text.
There probably was. There's a lot in that chat. We're letting them rip. It's mostly Mike. That's the 4-letter word we say a lot in that chat.
But yeah, that line really confused me at the beginning, but I understand why it was the way that it was. Like, I don't think that's a long-term solution. I have to be honest, but I think for now, we didn't mind it. And I felt like Ivan Demidov had a phenomenal game. It was so good. It was so good. Like, and the one thing that like I keep having to think about is he's not even 20 yet. He turns 20 next week. This is the Ivan Demidov we have now. I just like imagine him at 24.
Yeah, exactly. It's what was the line I had about Lane Hutson all year last year?
This is the
worst version of Lane Hutson we will see.
Yeah.
And that's largely been true. And that's still true for this player.
Yes.
Like we have to remember just how young these guys are. I think again, last year's the playoff run or getting to the playoffs, not much of a run. Getting to the playoffs, I think maybe warped our sense of reality with this team. Not in a grandiose sense. We still think they're a bubble team, but in the sense that these guys are all still figuring this out, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of calls for Ivan Demidov to get more ice time. And I think maybe that there's some truth to that he could afford to take a couple more shifts in a game. But if you watch when he gets back to the bench right after a shift, he's gassed. Yeah. He's huffing and puffing because that's not to say his fitness is low. That's to say he puts everything he has into every shift. He doesn't have a dimmer switch.
He doesn't hold
steps
back.
over the boards and the switch goes on. And that's what he does.
And like, we saw him this entire summer. Like you can't fault his conditioning, right? He went hard, and that's the problem. He always goes hard. Speaking of Lane Hutson, I want to circle back to Lane Hutson. And what a phenomenal game he had too. I felt like every time I felt the Canadiens gave the puck away, Lane Hutson took it upon himself to steal it back. Yeah. There were some moments where I looked at the situation on the ice. I got a little bit nervous, and Lane Hutson was like, "Don't worry, I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that was like the Markov influence, which we will talk about in the next segment. But I really felt that whatever happened, if they had a conversation, if they had a back skate, I don't think they did. I didn't read about one.
No.
If they had a conversation, if they had a meeting, if they had whatever it is that happened between the Ottawa Senators game and the Winnipeg Jets game, it worked because, again, it's not like they, skated them out the door or anything like that, but they played so well. What are your final thoughts on that game?
Jakub Dobes.
Yes.
Was he absolutely spectacular? No. He didn't make a ton of, oh my goodness, can't believe he made that save. He did the one in overtime, I believe it was Nemesnikov on the feed from Taze, where he just comes across desperation. I'm either getting this or the game's over, and he gets it. That was really it. Then he doesn't give up a goal in the shootout. My favorite part of the night, though, has to be when Gabe Vilardi hits the post on the final shot for the Winnipeg Jets, and Dobes kind of throws his glove up and freezes, and then he realizes it's not in, and he immediately starts celebrating like he just won the Stanley Cup. I love that so much because that's who that player is, right? Yeah. That's when he's on his game, those are the emotions that he's feeling. The guy wears his heart on his sleeve. I like the war that he got into with some of the Jets players when they would come in, they'd stand in front of the net while Hutson was doing the things behind the net, and he'd sort of just give him a tap. One of the Jets knocked the stick out of his hand. I think when Dobes is doing those things, he's winning. Yeah. Right? When he's in your face and you're thinking about a rookie goalie instead of doing your job, he wins.
Yeah. And I think like that's the thing. It's like he was not special or spectacular like the way that we were used to seeing like back in the day with Carey Price. There was nothing like anything like that, but he just looked so poised and confident. He wasn't giving up juicy rebounds.
I was about to say the
Yeah.
rebounds were the biggest part for me.
Yes, he just looked so much more confident. And I think that's why, like, you saw that at the end of the game because he is that guy. He is the trash talker. He is the guy getting in your face. He's like, yes, he's the guy who cries when he loses, but he's also the guy who celebrates like that when he wins. And I feel like, much like Ivan Demidov, just in a very different way, like Jakub Dobes also goes really hard. And so I think just seeing that, it makes me filled with confidence. There's going to be a whole other conversation we're going to have tomorrow because there's back-to-backs coming up on the weekend. So let's just table that for tomorrow because we kind of want to talk a little bit about Andrei Markov, his legacy, and what some of the players said about him today. And then later on, we are going to talk about special teams. So make sure you keep it here on Locked On Canadiens. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, the defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment with live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. I always used to joke that football Sundays were just interminable, but now there's a way to get closer to the game, be part of the action, and just add to the excitement. So it doesn't feel so long, it actually just feels like fun. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, before we get into our Andrei Markov segment, I do want to remind everybody that tomorrow is Friday and there are no games, so we have additional time for your mailbag questions, so please send them our way. And we already have a couple that we're really excited to tackle, but please send more our way. We love hearing from you guys, and we love the thought-provoking questions you sent. You can get in touch with us. lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com is the best way to do so, but you can also leave them in the YouTube comments and on all our socials. Ian, let's talk about our Andrei Markov feelings.
Yes.
Yes.
The first feeling is disappointment in Sportsnet not airing the ceremony. I think the Canadiens chose this night because I think they knew that it was a nationally televised game, and the Sportsnet rewarded them by not showing the thing that probably drew a lot of Canadiens fans to the broadcast early.
Yeah.
So shame on them. I think hockey broadcasts in general despise their fans more than any other kind of media that exists. So really disappointing. But leaving that there.
I got to see it on RDS, and I will say on that note, RDS and the Prime Monday Night Hockey, those are the two broadcasts on which I love the Habs, and I really feel like they're a cut above all the rest.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back into understanding French. Took French for a long time. I'd love to be able to watch the games on RDS, but ESPN Plus does not offer them. So I get slop, and I like it. Look, I think it was this front office has now front office and ownership. I guess the new page of Jeff Molson has righted two wrongs that I think the Mark Bergevin regime did. The first one being the Subban exit. Obviously, you're allowed to trade whatever players you want for whatever reason you want, but it was a cosmic wrong that he left on the terms that he did. PK Subban left the ice for the last time as a Montreal Canadien on a stretcher. Like, it was kind of important to have that moment. And Markov, Mark Bergevin hardballs an all-timer for this franchise and just forces him out of town. And forces, for what it's worth, Radulov out of town at the same time. And then replaces him with Carl Alsner and the ghost of Mark Streit. And then that team goes from 103 points to one of the worst teams in the National Hockey League. And I still, to this day, do not understand how that was not the end of the Mark Bergevin experiment. That he took this team that just had 103 points. They just got a new coach in Claude Julien. You can't say, well, Price was hurt. He played 49 games the next year. That's the best player on the Canadiens that year was Brendan Gallagher with 54 points. I cannot stress enough how that should have been the end of that experiment. And the worst thing is, we knew it at the time. Like, it wasn't, this isn't in retrospect. We knew the second they let Markov go and they signed Alzner. Oh, it's just over? Okay, I guess it's over, guys. It was very sad to the point where, then Mark Bergevin had to right the wrong with Thomas Plekanec and bring him back for his 1000th NHL game and then immediately terminate that contract. he scored a goal in his 1000th game and they said, thank you so much for your service, you're gone. Look, that's all a long-winded way of saying I'm glad that they righted this wrong with this player. I'm glad that he got this moment. I'm glad that he is at peace with the fact that he's at 990 games. Just a really, Arpon Basu mentioned it on the Basu and Gaden notebook. One of the players to remain underrated through his entire career.
I was just about to say that. If Andrei Markov was playing on one of the teams that were perennial cup contenders at the time, like, the conversation about him would have been very different. I always think about how lucky we are in Montreal that he was never traded. And I think it's because other people didn't know his value enough to want him.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the other thing Basu mentioned, was that guys would come to Montreal and go, I didn't know much about him, and he's way stronger than I thought. He's way smarter than I thought. He's much more of a dog than I thought. It's a guy that just kind of in a media market like Montreal can still kind of fly under the radar.
Yeah.
When it comes to monitoring at the time all 30 NHL teams, and I always found that he was the injuries he was able to come back from. I mean, he's blown out both knees. And even though his speed went and he wasn't as quick as he used to be, like, he was still effective at doing the things he needed to do. Like, to the point where when Bergevin shoved him off the team, he could have still been in the top 4 for this team.
Yeah.
Like, very easily. It was not difficult to imagine. And for what it's worth, Markov didn't want to raise on that contract. Markov said, I want the same cap hit that I had the last 7 or so years. Just give me 2 years. And Bergevin said no. And he said, okay, fine, I'll take 1 year. And that offer never came. This is all according to Eric Engels today. So, like, it's just frustrating that it goes that way. But I'm glad he got that moment. I'm glad that, he seemed to be caught off guard by how much everybody loves him.
Yes, he seemed to not expect how touching it would be. Like, he did get very emotional, and I think there was a little touch of surprise in him, I think, when he saw just how crazy everyone went for him, because that's what he was used to hearing when it came to PK Subban. That's what he was used to hearing when it came to Carey Price, right? Like, and so for him to realize that we loved him just as much, I think it was really a great moment. I've never told you my very boring Andrei Markov story, which is one time during one of those knee injuries, I can't remember what it was. The Canadiens sent him to Toronto to speak to a specialist, and they sent him on a Porter flight. And I was on the same Porter flight as Andrei Markov, and he was sitting not across the aisle and like one seat in front of me. And the entire flight, I was just like that, just staring at him. And I don't know if he noticed or not, but he was just super quiet, unassuming, very polite to the flight attendants and everything. But I just remember being like, Andrei Markov is on my flight, and that was the first time I think I'd actually encountered somebody where I was close enough to touch them. And yeah. I did not. Just for the record, I did not. He was wearing a blue sweater.
Point of order, didn't touch him.
Yes, didn't touch him. Didn't bother him at all. I just smiled at him. I didn't even talk to him. I just smiled at him when he saw me or noticed me. And also, he smells very good.
Oh, great. It's good to know. What's other than smelling him on the airplane, what's your favorite Andrei Markov memory?
That interminable shootout against Pittsburgh when he does the celebration that they also featured in the video. Everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's a great one. I tend to go with 2 moments that involved PK Subban. One where he gives him a kiss on the helmet. I love that one.
Oh yes, they showed that in the video today too.
And then one at the home opener where, Subban's raising the torch at center and they announce Markov and he's supposed to get the torch from Subban. But first he does a full lap skating around him, just doing finger guns at him. I think like Markov, playing with a guy like Subban, I think pulled Markov out of his shell a little bit.
Yes.
I really loved that pair. It's one of my favorite pairs that the Canadiens have ever put together while I've been watching.
They made each other so great, and I think that was it. I want to say like the biggest testament to Markov's skill was that he made Mike Komisarek look good.
Okay, that's the other thing, and then we do need to move on. Like throughout his time in Montreal, it was what are they going to do when Sheldon Surrey's gone? Andrei Markov's here. Mark Streit's leaving. What are they going to do? Andrei Markov's here. Mike Komisarek's going to free agency. Andrei Markov's here. Like we traded PK Subban. Yeah, we got Shea Weber, but what are we going to do? Andrei Markov's here. Like it was just he was always there, despite the fact that he did miss some time with injury. Like he was always the guy.
Yes.
And again, underrated throughout his career, despite that fact.
I think Cole Caufield called him a pretty cool dude when he was named first star. Sorry, he either said pretty cool dude or pretty cool guy, like when they were talking after the game. All right. We're going to talk a little bit about Cole Caufield because part of what has made this team look good was the power play has been looking a lot better. The penalty kill was phenomenal tonight. I know it was not a big sample size, but we are going to get into that in one moment here on Locked On Canadiens. This episode is also brought to you by Drip Drop. When I'm hydrated, everything just works better. My focus, my energy, my mood, even my skin. That's why I've been using Drip Drop. It's doctor-developed hydration that keeps me running at full power no matter what my day looks like. Drip Drop is not your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading brands using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and over 90% of top college and pro teams. I like using Drip Drop as part of my daily routine. I'll mix a packet in the morning, before the gym, or during that midday slump. It actually tastes amazing. My go-to flavor is grape, and it's become my secret weapon for staying sharp and energized throughout long days. Hydration has become a non-negotiable for me. Drip Drop helps me feel sharper, calmer, and honestly, just better overall. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 20% off. Stock up now before the dryness hits hard and keep your body and mind performing at their best with Drip Drop. All right. Quick reminder, mailbag episode tomorrow. Please send us mailbag questions, lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com. You can send them to us on our socials, Locked On Canadiens on Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok. And also you can leave mailbag questions in the YouTube comments as well as trivia. We always have trivia. So that's happening at the end of this episode, just like every other episode. Ian, in the post-game remarks, or in his post-game remarks on RDS when he was named first star, Cole Caufield was asked about the power play. He mentioned the power play, or he cited the power play as, being back, doing really well. Let's talk about special teams, because tonight was not the first night that we saw better power play. It seems to have come back together over the last few games.
Yeah, and especially on home ice.
Yeah.
The Canadiens have one of, if not the worst power plays on home ice. The difference is like 31% on the road to 13% at home. And, they only got one crack at it in this one. I thought this game was officiated like a playoff game in that nothing was called. But I understand. I'm not even going to say that, oh, man, the Jets got away with so much. So did the Canadiens. Like, it was not, they just let, it was real clutch and grab era out there, which is why I think a guy like Juraj Slafkovsky stood out. But I think, there continues to be tinkering on that power play unit as to who Marty puts out on power play 1. Sometimes it's Bolduc, sometimes it's Demidov, sometimes it's, just the boy genius line with Demidov and Hutson, which I believe is what happened on the goal that they scored. And look, I think they kept it simple, and they found a play. They found a guy open in Juraj Slafkovsky, who leads the team in power play goals. And, that's what they had hoped Bolduc would be able to do in that role, which is just get himself open at the top, within the slot somewhere, and work the puck down low and get it to the slot so a guy can shoot. What I don't think they drew up was Caulfield being the one below the net to bump it to that guy.
Yeah.
I think that's where maybe the Jets got caught napping was, well, that's their shooter. Why would he be passing the puck to this guy who's standing in front of the net? I think maybe that's what caught them off guard. And if that's the case, you just keep taking that. That's,
Yeah.
I believe, an 8-game point streak for Cole Caufield. I believe
8 or
7 for,
9.
yeah, something like that. Him and Suzuki are on one. I just think that their puck movement has always been decent on the power play. It's just the final execution, the final who's going to take the shot, and when do you decide to take the shot has been the issue on their power play when they've struggled. I don't think they have that issue right now. There's a lot of guys being more assertive with the thing.
Yeah, being more assertive in their communication with each other is a little bit better, I think, too. That's something that I noticed, is that they're not just kind of sending it to the guy hoping that they'll do the right thing. It's more like, this guy is in a better position, or that guy is, nobody's noticed him, or, the Jets are caught napping X, Y, Z. I did forget to mention how good Eric Comrie was tonight.
Incredible.
He was so good. I mean, both goalies were good, but like, Eric Comrie was so good. And the Montreal Canadiens were extremely frustrated at the very beginning, because I thought they came out so strong, and that game could easily have been like way more lopsided than it ended up being. Like, it was so close. It literally came down to a shootout.
Yeah, no, I thought he was again fantastic, especially after getting shelled against Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
And they had their players only meeting, and early on it looked like Eric Comrie was the only one who got the message of that meeting from the Jets. I thought the Jets, the one thing I thought the Canadiens would end up regretting, and you can still say they did, just because they got the extra point in the shootout, they didn't capitalize on a lot of those giveaways that the Jets had.
Yeah.
The Jets were just putting pucks directly on Canadian sticks. It was kind of like, this is supposed to be one of the better teams in the league. I know you don't have Connor Hellebuck. He's not passing the puck, guys. It was very bizarre.
It was also like lethal Canadians, not like just some guy, right? Like, it was like Lane Hutson. Here you go.
Cole Caufield.
Here you go.
It was tough. I don't know how the Jets shake that, because that's not, well, once we get Connor Hellebuck back, we'll be fine. That's not true at all. But the penalty kill was also perfect. 1 for 1.
Yeah.
And I thought that penalty kill was a Mike Matheson hero shift.
Yes.
Every time the Jets had the puck in the zone, he said, "No, you don't."
Yeah.
Which I have been dying for somebody to do on this penalty kill. Be assertive, go grab the puck and get it out of there.
Yeah. No, you don't. Jake Evans was also phenomenal. Evans was also phenomenal.
I thought at 5-on-5, Jake Evans' line was bad. I thought they were stinky, no good.
No.
They're going through it right now.
Yeah.
They'll come out of it. Those are all pros. They'll figure it out. But right now, just no good.
It's no good. Also, before we move on to trivia, Florian Jacki and Adam Engstrom have been assigned back to Laval as of the end of that game. So obviously, we'll have more to come with what the lines are going to look like. I mean, obviously, there's no point in playing them. Sorry, there's no point in having them up in Montreal if they're not going to be able to play them, and there was no room for them tonight, simply. So,
right, and they've got a back-to-back in Belleville Friday and Saturday. I'm wondering if they play in both those guys play those games, and maybe Mark Del Gaizo comes to Toronto on the trip.
Yeah,
just so the Canadiens have a guy.
That sounds like something Montreal will do.
I think they need a break glass in case of emergency, dude. Yes. And that's Mark Del Gaizo right now.
Yeah. I will say, my friend Bailey, when the Markov ceremony was going on, she sent me in all caps, "Put him in, he can still play." And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? He probably could.
He could probably give you, he could probably give you a McDermott night. 5 minutes or so, and that's probably where he maxes out.
Put him on the power play.
Yeah, for sure. Just have him. I just, no one on this team since Markov left has been able to just slide all the way down the ice on the opposite side of wherever the puck is and just wait for a tap it. That doesn't happen anymore. I think it's just the way power plays have changed.
Yeah.
But I was watching Markov highlights before the game to get myself excited for getting to see him again, and that was the only thing I could think of was like, man, nobody does this anymore. It's a different sport now.
Markov is a different kind of player. All right, remember our mailbag tomorrow, but first it's time for our daily trivia.
It is. Let's go back to yesterday's question, and more realistically, 30 years ago. 30 years ago on Tuesday, Patrick Waugh played his last game for the Montreal Canadiens. He was left in net for 9 goals against the Detroit Red Wings before skating off the ice and saying, "I will never play for the Montreal Canadiens again." And he was right. When there was one future Hab who scored against Waugh and Pat Jablonski who came in relief. Who was that Montreal Canadian, Laura?
I was actually quite shocked to find out that this player was playing in that time at the same time. It was Mathieu Dandino.
It was Mathieu Dandino who when he was with Montreal, those were some of my earliest Canadiens teams. And I could like it was shocking because he was like sometimes a defenseman, sometimes he played forward, and my brain couldn't comprehend like why would you do that? Yeah, he was literally kind of just did whatever. To be fair, at that point in his Canadiens career, didn't do either of those things particularly well, but that's neither here nor there. The correct answer came to us from Super Rain and Joe Segredo. So thank you for playing. Today's question. This is not the first time the Habs have beaten the Jets in the shootout. Back in 2023, the Habs won 4-3 in the shootout. Just like in this game, the Habs first shooter scored, and the rest of the shots were stopped or missed. Who scored the game-winning goal in the shootout for the Montreal Canadiens the last time they beat the Jets in the shootout? If you have the answer, put it in the comments down below this video. Send it to us any way you know how, and we'll give you a shout-out on the next episode of the show.
This is another sickle question.
It is and isn't. It is and it isn't. I hope it's not helpful at all. Clear as mud. Good luck.
All right. If you want to send us your guesses, or even if you know the right answer, I shouldn't say guesses, like, because a lot of the times I am guessing. I know some of you guys are a lot more confident in your answers or you're remembering correctly. You can send them to us at lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com. Leave them in the YouTube comments as well. You can also reach us on TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky. We're at Locked On Canadiens. Again, we want your mailbag questions. It is an all mailbag episode tomorrow unless something big happens. So please, please, please reach out to us. You know we love hearing from you. At the same time, please make sure you're subscribed to this podcast wherever you are. Wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. We're free and available everywhere. You can find my co-host at maybe it's Ian. You'll find me at The Active Stick. We want to thank you all so much for listening, and we'll be back with you tomorrow for the Friday mailbag.